1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move. Whatever click you choose, you better
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Now, let's hop right up into this video. So, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to name this video, the day after you crash out or something like that. And I got the idea for this video as I was reading through the comments on the story that I did yesterday about the YouTuber who unfortunately killed 2 other YouTubers. And I was just thinking like, damn, you know, that dude is 41 years old and he has threw his life away pretty much. And I was wondering, how is he feeling right about now? You know, once your environment has changed, your scenery has changed, and once the realization sets in that pretty much your whole entire world as you previously knew it is over. You know what I'm saying? And then also, you know, thinking about, man, a dude going to jail for a double murder around the age of 41. Chances are, you know, you will not be getting out again, you know. And so as I'm thinking about that, and sometimes when I see stories like that about individuals who have done something and they're going to jail for a long time, you know, due to the fact that I went to prison for a long time myself, it makes me reflect on you know, just what they going through and all that, and just basically that it's over for them dudes, you know. Like I said, their world as they once knew it is over. So of course I got to thinking about my situation, right? And so, because who knows what the next individual was thinking. You know, I seen where that dude that made the video, Sin City Manny, where he was basically riding around saying that, you know, he's looking for these dudes and he's dying to catch them. So maybe at this point in time, maybe at this moment, it's worth it, because it seemed like he had his mind made up on doing what he did. So maybe right now he still has that high of satisfaction. But one thing I can definitely guarantee, at some point in time, man, you know, prison is going to get monotonous, and he's going to realize that it was not worth it. You know, that is considering that he's playing with a full deck, because some of the videos that I seen about him made me think that he necessarily wasn't playing with a full deck. So anyway, I'm gonna get into what it was like for me after I crashed out, right? And because you have dudes nowadays, they will take these terms and they will flip the whole meaning of the term. You might have a dude, you may see a dude, man, you know, talk a lot of stuff on YouTube and disrespect somebody, and they'll say, oh man, Johnny crashed out. That's not a crash out, man. A crash out is when you do something basically stupid and now you have potentially thrown your life away. You are potentially in danger of losing your freedom for the rest of your natural life. That, in my opinion, is what the original terminology crash out was pertaining to, not this new stuff right now, right? So let me talk about, man, when I crashed out. It was 1993, I believe. Wow, it's crazy now that I'm talking about that, because I'm talking about this because now it's crazy because it's just coming back to me. It was close to Father's Day, so it was close to around the time right now, right? And you know, I went to a party, I started shooting, and the next day or two my name was all over the newspaper, right? And so, you know, that's crashing out. Now, when it's not like when you slide through somebody's hood and you shoot their hood up, or you do some stuff like that and you get away with it. Crashing out, man, is when you have done something, like I said, and now potentially the rest of your life is getting ready to be altered for many, 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 many years. You know, the people know who you are. Your face is all over the news, and it's just a matter of time before they catch you. That's crashing out, man. So, like I say, my situation happened at a party. I'm from a small town, man. So, pretty much, you know, everybody who was there, you know, knew who did it. And of course, you know, small town, people is talking. This is before YouTube. So the next day or two, you know, it's all over the place. You know, children shot the party up. Children tripped out, you know, whatever they were saying, right? And so the first thing I did after that is I went to my homie's house. I went to my homie's house to hide the guns. Now, I can talk about all this stuff because the case is over with. I've served my time, so on and so forth, right? My homie wasn't there, or at least, well, he was there. It was late at night, 2 or 3 o'clock. He's not answering the door. I threw the guns up under a crawl space, like in his house. Like you can go to like in his backyard, and at the back of the house there was like this little hole or whatever, and it led to up under his house. So I threw the guns up under there. I got on, and so I ended up calling my home girl. She was down in Palm Springs. I slid down there, got me a hotel room, got a hold of my dad, I think the next day. And by that time, you know, he had heard, of course, Bannon is a small town. And so he eventually came to get me. And because, like I said, I'm in California, but I was living in Billings, Montana. So he comes to get me. He picks me up, you know, and while we're riding, you know, we're talking about the situation. My dad was always in my corner 100%, right? I told him where the guns was. He went and got the guns, moved the guns, went and got rid of them. But so, you know, we're talking, and I can remember it as he is telling me that he heard one of the dudes got shot in the head and 2 other individuals got shot. One of them happened to be my homie at the time. So I'm thinking, to keep it 100 with y'all, man, I'm saying, man, I hope this dude don't die. You know, I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all, you know, because now after the realization has set in, on what I have done, and I'm thinking about everything, you know, in the big scope of things, man, listen, I'm thinking like, man, damn, I hope this dude don't die, you know what I'm saying? And fortunately, for him, his family, and myself included, he did not die. So I end up getting on the airplane and going back to Billings, Montana, which was kind of crazy because I was already on parole out there. Probation out there for selling drugs. My house had been raided out there, so I was on probation out there, right? So it was only a matter of time before they got the word out there, right? And I was supposed to check in every like 2 weeks or something like that. And I remember one time I went to check in not too soon before this incident happened. My probation officer, and because I was supposed to have permission every time I left the state, and she asked me, well, hey, what were you doing on a plane? What were you doing on a plane in first class, flying wherever you was going? You know, you was leaving the country. Leaving the state. And I quickly told her that, hey, you know, one of my homies that passed away, he was a dear friend. My mother and father had paid for me to come down there because they wanted me to come. This dude I'd been knowing all my life, and you know, that's why I was on the plane. When she told me once again, well, okay, well, you know, you are supposed to have permission. You're supposed to notify me and get permission to leave. So next time, make sure you do that. So she then went on to tell me, because I'm wondering, like, how the hell did they know I was on this airplane? Man, my luck just so happened the district attorney from Billings is also on that plane going somewhere. The plane had a layover in Denver, so he was on the plane going to Denver. Just so happened he happened to see me, and he went back and reported the fact that he had saw me on the airplane. And so it's a trip, right? Because this was 1992 when I was out there in Montana. I think when my house got raided, right? And so out there, you know, they had me as this big time player. You know, they had me as this California Crip who was out there bringing drugs, wreaking havoc on their community. And honestly, they had me doing things way, way, way bigger than I actually was. You know, they like to embellish, or I don't know what they was talking about, or what they was assuming I was doing right now. I was doing some things, right? But it was nothing on what the level they thought I was doing. They thought I was supplying the whole damn city with drugs, you know, powder cocaine at the time, right? And so I remember one time as I'm going to court now, as they has raided my house, and now I'm dealing with this stuff. I have to go back and forth to court. And so I'm sitting out there, and I just came from the gym, from the YMCA, playing some basketball. And you know, I got on a Nike shirt, some basketball shorts, and some gym shoes, some basketball shoes, right? I hear this one dude who, as I'm sitting in the court, some dude who's dressed, you know, official, probably a district attorney or somebody, he tells another dude, he says, "Hey man, E Chill's sitting out here if you want to see him, if you want to get a look at him. E Chill's out here if you want to get a look at him." I'm thinking like, damn, what they got going on, right? So then another dude comes out of the back. He looks at me and he says something like, "Is that it? That's all? That's what everybody's been talking about?" Because now keep in mind, at this time, I'm probably 19, 20 years old. I'm probably like 140 pounds, very skinny dude, extremely young looking. I probably looked like I was 15 or 16. So I guess in his mind, he had conjured up the image of some big, ugly California Crip with muscles and this and that and all this old crazy type of stuff. And then to come out and see me, see some kid looking dude, you know, I guess he was disappointed in what he saw, man. So anyway, I go back to Montana. Sorry about that. I digressed a little bit. I go back to Montana. I'm on probation. And so I'm riding around, right? And at the time, I had just got maybe about a month or two before, I had just went and got, and maybe I'll put a picture up, probably not, because I don't want to do no editing on this video, but I had just got this, it was a Toyota Corolla, and actually a lot of people thought it was a Nissan. I got a candy paint job done on it at Evans in San Bernardino. I had some gold and chrome rims on it. The car was trimmed in gold. It was really nice looking, black phantom top, especially for Montana times, you know. So I'm riding around in this and I'm not getting pulled over. So I'm almost starting to think, okay, well, damn, maybe they not tripping, right? Because I had been out there a week. Then maybe like the next day, the police, they try to pull me over. I jump out the car, I take off running, I get away, so on and so forth, right? From that point, my life was altered. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's nothing like already when you're selling drugs, when you're doing something illegal, you riding around with a gun, you gang banging. Man, I've been looking over my shoulder since I was about 15, 16 years old. Once I started selling weed, you know, I used to ride around with my weed. I had a motorcycle license. I used to keep the weed in a compartment on my fairing. And so, you know, literally, man, since 15, 16 years old, I have been looking over my shoulder, you know, watching the police. And every time he drive by, you know, we taking our hats off when me and the homies is in the car. But it's a very totally different thing when you in the run, man. I honestly don't believe I had a sleepless night. I honestly, let me say it again. I honestly don't believe I had a slept night. All my nights was pretty much sleepless. I'm having these crazy dreams, you know, about the police kicking in the door. Man, I'm sleeping with a gun everywhere I go. I'm even showering with my gun, you know. So I'm on the run. I went to Denver a couple times. I went to Portland, Oregon. I'm all over the place. I went to Louisiana, you know. So it's just and also now when you're on the run, or at least when I was on the run, I'm spending way more money than I was when I was stable, because, you know, I'm traveling here and there. Sometimes I'm flying here and there. Sometimes I'm in hotel rooms. And also what was really altered and messed up was my drug selling business in Montana. Now at that time, right, if I get 9 ounces or better, I got a hookup to where I can get each ounce for $300, right? So I would get about 18 ounces, right? Because getting the ounces from California to Montana was the biggest problem, right? Transporting or getting that stuff out there, right? So normally I would just get about 18. But now, once I got the drugs out there to Montana, I could take one of those ounces that I bought for $300 and easily sell it right across the table for $1,400 with no problem. If I wanted to, I could just hold on to it and sling it for $2,000, right? So I also used to break it down. I had a bunch of different dudes who was working for me. I'd give them packs, they'd sell it, you know. So I can take, man, off 1 ounce that I would pay, off 1 ounce that I paid $300 for, and you get 8 balls in an ounce in Montana. At that time, I was probably getting maybe about $800 from each 8 ball. So do the math on that. That's like $6,400 off something that I paid $300 for, right? So now that I'm on the run, I can no longer do that, right? So I had somebody out there who was pretty much just selling everything wholesale for me. So I'm not really, I'm still seeing a hell of a profit, but I'm not seeing the money that I was seeing when I was breaking the stuff down, right? And so, that's something that was altered. And like I said, I'm just continuously looking over my shoulder. I remember I was out there in Denver. I was trying to get a fake ID. I go down to the DMV. I go to one DMV. The dude tells me, hey man, you know what? The Social Security is not matching. It's not coming back. I said, okay. He returns my stuff. I leave. I go to the 5 Points, which was an all black area in Denver. And so I go in there, and sure enough, it's a black dude up in there working. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll be this process would be easy. Man, the dude ended up calling the police on me, trying to send me to jail. It's taking so long for him to give me my stuff back. I'm wondering, hey, what's going on? Because I'm seeing people come after me. They're going to the window and they're doing whatever they're doing. They're getting their stuff and they're leaving. So I keep asking dude, and since I'm on the run already, I'm already hyper vigilant. And so I keep asking the dude, man, I'm gonna call him the house nigga extraordinaire. I keep asking the house nigga extraordinaire, hey man, what's up with my stuff? He's telling me, oh, hold on, man, hold on. So now this is starting to make me leery, right? And I call him the house nigga extraordinaire because that dude could have just said, hey man, this ain't you. Take this stuff and get on. You know what I'm saying? But this dude was probably in his 40 somewhere around there. Probably just one of those dudes who thought that dudes who was out there committing crime was giving the black people a bad name. So anyway, house nigga extraordinaire makes an undercover call to the police, right? So just so happened, like I say, I'm hyper vigilant. And so I step outside. I'm looking around because now it's been like 30, 45 minutes, right? I got a fake Social Security card, which doesn't belong to me. And I got this ID that my homie gave me, right? And so I'm trying to say that it's me, and it wasn't me. So basically, man, as I'm outside, looking around, I see the police pull up. The police pulls up and he parks out in the back. So I leave. I walk down the street, hop in the car with my cousin and tell him, let's get on, man. So, dude, yeah, definitely tried to set me up. So then later on, the police pull me over. Me and my homie OZ, we take off running and stuff and a whole bunch of stuff. They end up gaffling us up, taking us to jail. And I end up getting out of that, getting away from that. So, just being on the run was extremely hectic. Maybe 2 or 3 days after I end up leaving Denver, the police kick in the door at the house that I was staying out there in Denver, my cousin's house. When I left Montana, when I took off running and got away from them, they ran up in, of course. Well, I don't necessarily think they ever ran up in the house that I was actually staying, but they ran up in both of my girlfriend's house, and it was just really, really hectic, and so everywhere I'm going here and there, I'm nervous, and it's just, it's really a trip, right? And so, I trip on how when people do crash out, they turn themselves in. That's something that I would never do, man. I would never turn myself in because, you didn't done it now, you know what I'm saying? So why turn yourself in? But anyway, I don't understand why some individuals do that. But when I got caught, it was like, okay, what I'm being charged with and eventually getting a life sentence, in my opinion, it all came with the territory, right? And so for me mentally, it was easier for me to do my time and to accept my time because I know what I was out there participating in, and it's my belief system that while no one wants to go to prison, sometimes prison is an extension of the life that I was living. I used to trip on gang members when I would run across gang members, man, who would be locked up, or so-called gang members, and they couldn't handle the time that they had got. They was just in there stressing, or I have literally seen dudes in the county jail crying, about the time that they was getting or about the time that they was offered. And to me, it's like, if you're out there gangbanging, all this comes with that life, right? And so it was easier for me to accept all that, right? Because I knew what I was doing. I think that, honestly, when I got sentenced to 9 years plus life, I was relieved because I thought I was going to get way more time than that. Then I had been in a county jail at that time about a year and a half. Man, I'm seeing dudes go in there and get life without parole, get the death penalty. I had a homeboy, man, who had one murder, and he ended up getting life without parole. He was about 19 years old, and he still sits in there today. This was like around 1995 when we was in the county jail, So I'm seeing dudes, like I said, man. I was in the Crip tank, man, with 3 or 4 dudes who got the death penalty, right? So I was relieved because I knew all the things that I was involved in, but I still had a trailing murder case, right? And so I ended up taking a voluntary manslaughter deal on that, and they dropped it down to voluntary manslaughter, the murder, and so that's how I ended up with 16 to life, or 16 plus life, right? So I went on to prison, right? And so, honestly, getting a life sentence didn't bother me as much as being charged with the murder, because initially I was only charged with the 3 attempted murders, and the district attorney is talking about, okay, we still gonna file a trailing murder on you because you have been accused of murdering a witness, right? So they definitely ended up filing that maybe about 4 or 5 months after I was picked up, and that actually shook me up. That's what shook me up when they filed that murder. But getting sentenced to life didn't really shake me up. I don't know if I was young, naive, or whatever, right? But so I went on to prison. And, when you're young, keep in mind at that time, I'm like 23 years old or whatever. So when you're young, I think certain circumstances and situations are easier to accept. Now, if I was to get all that time right now, just being smarter and understanding and realizing what I am potentially up against and what all the things that I'm going to be losing now, it definitely would be much harder. I believe that I would be way, way, way more a no nonsense guy than I was, because I know that I got a gang of time and I'm not coming home and I'm not letting nobody play with me regardless of who they are, because in my mind I'm figuring that it's over, right? So at this point in time, by me of already going to prison and I know what it's like, I know you got to just put out example after example until individuals stop playing with you. And especially being older, man, prison is definitely a young man's game, no question, right? So, like I said earlier in reference to Sin City Manny, at some point in time, he is going to realize it's not worth it. Because when I was in there, I was young, I'm going to the yard, I'm seeing people get beat up. All that stuff was exciting and fun. It's always fun as long as you're not the one getting boo-bop. As long as your helmeet, though, is not the one being stepped on, it's an excitement. Hey, man, you heard the homie Jay such and such from wherever, they finished the whooping today over there on the basketball court. Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah, I'm out there. I'm on that. I'm supposed to get me a front row seat. Then maybe after about 15, 16 years in, hey man, you hear such and such is supposed to get whooped on by the basketball court. Oh, is that right? Oh yeah, I'm not going out there. I'm tired now of laying on the ground 5-6 hours, getting handcuffed with my hands all behind my back, laying on the ground in the rain, in the whatever it is, whatever the weather is, just being stuck outside. After a while, all that stuff gets old. Maybe about 15 into my 15, 16 years, being locked up got monotonous. I got tired of doing the same stuff every day in, every day out. It's the same program, not too much deviation from what you normally do on a day-to-day basis. You wake up, you go eat breakfast, you come back. Some people have a job. You go to your job, you get back, you might come outside, work out, play a little basketball from like 3 to 4. You lock up, you shower, you go to dinner, you go back to the yard again, maybe from 7 o'clock, maybe to 9. You play a little chess or whatever. Normally your routine is extremely repetitious. The food is the same up in there. On Sundays you have this, on Mondays you have this, on Tuesdays you have this. Every now and then they may deviate from that menu every now and then, but for the most part you get the same thing day in and day out. And let's keep in mind, man, there is no women and there is no good food in prison. So after a while, man, all that stuff eventually plays out, regardless of how upbeat an individual can be, regardless of how nonchalant or how strongly you believed in your cause, man. Going to prison is not worth it. I think the only time that a person may feel that he went to jail for a righteous cause is if someone did something to a member of his family or a loved one, someone that he really cared about, and then and you feel in your heart you was right, then doing that time is not a problem because it was worth it, right? But one thing I also learned when I was taking these self-help groups, if you go to jail for protecting your members, your loved ones, when I say members, I'm talking about family members, not gang members. When you go to jail for protecting your family members, who gonna protect them the next time when you sitting in there with life? And so you have to figure that out, man. If you got 25 to 30 years to do, who's going to protect them the next time? So maybe you need to figure out a better way of protection. However that looks to, different individuals, right? But anyway, man, I know I was kind of long right there, but like I said, when I see individuals who get locked up and are potentially facing life-changing time, I think about this type of stuff because at one point in time, I was in that position. And the difference between then and now is then I didn't have enough sense to care and give a F. You know what I'm saying? Now I give a F because I'm understanding what all is going to be lost when you go to prison and you take that trip. Anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. I know I messed up a little bit. I'm not doing no editing. I'm putting it up. It is what it is. You already know. Resume normal program.